Isn't it funny how the world loves to play hero while it's the one creating monsters? They smile in your face, pat your back, cheer your dreams, and the moment you bleed, they hand you a dagger and say, "Cut yourself, quieter." See, I wasn't born with a twisted smile or a broken laugh. I was born with hope, with light in my chest and fire in my eyes. I was human, just like you. But here's the thing they won't admit. Villains aren't born in the darkness. They're pushed there, step by step, betrayal by betrayal, silence by silence. They didn't want to understand my pain. They wanted to label it. They didn't care why I screamed. They only cared that it made them uncomfortable. So they called me disturbed, angry, dramatic, too much. Oh, but they were right about one thing. I was too much, too honest for their lies, too awake for their sleepwalking charade. The truth is, I tried. I played nice. I bit my tongue until it bled. I apologized for existing too loudly. I stayed silent when they spit venom in pretty words. And in return, they dragged my name through dirt. They mocked the cracks in my voice and they whispered behind closed doors. Something's wrong with him. No, my dear society. Nothing was wrong with me. You just couldn't handle what was right about me. You wanted a puppet. I gave you a mirror. You wanted obedience. I gave you rebellion. And because I didn't bow, you called me the villain. But now I wear that title like war paint. You want a villain? Then you've got one. And I promise you this, the fire you lit inside me. It's not going out. They say every story needs a villain, but no one ever asks who wrote the story. Because in their version, they're always the heroes, even when they're the ones doing the killing. They edited out the part where they lied, cut the scenes where they betrayed, silenced the clips where they humiliated you in public, then said, "Don't take it so personally." You see, this isn't just a story. This is a war of perception, a war between truth and performance. They crafted a narrative where your rage was dangerous, but their manipulation was concern, where your isolation meant unstable, but their abandonment was boundaries. That's the genius of cowards. They set the fire, then scream for help, pointing at you when the smoke rises. They needed a monster, so they peeled your skin, ripped open your soul, and stitched together a version of you that fit their fear. Then they told everyone that's who he really is. And the world, it's easier for them to believe a lie that makes sense than a truth that makes them uncomfortable. So they clapped, they nodded, they distanced themselves, not because they saw your darkness, but because your truth exposed theirs. You were too raw, too real, too untamed to be controlled. And when they couldn't predict you, they tried to destroy you. But here's the part they didn't expect. You survived. They threw stones. You built a throne. They tried to shame you. You turned guilt into gasoline. So now when they say, "He changed, he's cold now," what they really mean is, you stopped bleeding for people who loved to watch you die slow. They thought they were burying you, but you were a seed. know what the funniest part is? They think I became this overnight. Like one day I just snapped. Like madness as magic. A switch flipped in the dark. No madness is earned. It's fed, slowly, by betrayal after betrayal. It's not a breakdown. It's a build-up of silence, of humiliation, of being misunderstood on purpose. They didn't break me in a single moment. They chipped away at me. One smirk, one guilt trip, one fake hug at a time, until I looked in the mirror, and I didn't see me anymore. I saw the version they wanted to see. The quiet one, the forgiving one, the apologetic puppet, smiling through the pain, nodding through the insults. A caricature of peace they could parade around and say, "See, he's better now, he's healed." But healing doesn't come from pretending. Healing came when I set fire to that mask. When I stopped playing the role they assigned me. When I said, no more explanations, no more pretending, no more chains. You see, the villain you fear is just the truth you couldn't control. Laughed. Not because I was okay, but because I finally understood the joke. The joke was this. They needed you quiet because your truth was too loud. They needed you weak because your power threatened the illusion. They needed you broken because a whole version of you would force them to see themselves. So I became what they feared, not because I changed, but because I stopped shrinking. And now when I walk in the room, their smiles fade, their voices drop, because they know the one they built to break now walks without mercy. You made me the villain. Good. Because now I don't need your approval. I don't need your love. I don't even need your fear. I just need you to remember. I was once everything you destroyed, and now I am everything you can't survive. There's a freedom in not caring what they think anymore, not needing to explain, not hoping they'll understand, not waiting for them to say, you were right, because you already know, you always knew. They don't get to define your story. They don't get to narrate your pain, edit your truth, or rebrand your scars as drama. That's the beauty of becoming the villain in their story. You finally get to write your own. No more walking on eggshells. No more polite nods in rooms full of snakes. No more apologizing for how loud your soul speaks. I used to beg for peace. Now I make them beg for silence. You see, they loved you most when you were easy to manipulate, when your kindness could be milked, when your loyalty had no limits, when your silence was their victory. But when you start protecting your peace, when you say no without explanation, when you walk away with your head high, suddenly you're aggressive. Suddenly you're too much. Suddenly you're the villain. Let them say it. Let them think it. Let them call you cold, heartless, bitter. Because the truth is, you are too real for their comfort, too awake for their illusion, too alive for their control. And now, you don't need to justify your fire to those who only ever brought gasoline. Let them whisper. Let them gossip. Let them lie. Because while they're talking in circles, you're moving in silence, unapologetically. And remember this, they made you the villain because they couldn't handle the hero. know what the real joke is? It was never about becoming a monster. It was about surviving the people who pretended to love you. They dressed up betrayal in nice words. They poisoned you with fake smiles. And then they cried, victim, when you finally snapped. But here's what they'll never understand. You didn't lose your mind. You found your edge. You didn't become dangerous. You just stopped being controlled. They want to act surprised when the mask comes off, as if they didn't carve it into your face. With every lie, every backstab, every silent betrayal, let them clutch their pearls now. Let them act shocked, because you know the truth. The villain they see today is the product of their own hands. Every scar is a receipt. Every rage is a result. Every silence they ignored became a scream. They called you selfish because you stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. They called you dramatic because they couldn't handle the drama they caused. They called you the villain because it's easier than admitting they created you. So now what? Now you rise, not with apologies, not with explanations, but with power, because villains don't chase approval. They leave ashes, and if being the villain means you finally sleep at night, so be it. Let them write their stories. Let them play the victims. You've got better things to do, like building your empire from the rubble they left you in. So go ahead. Be their villain. Be the storm. Be the silence that follows. Be the reminder that some people should have never played with your heart, like it didn't beat with fire. And now, if you're watching this and you've been made the villain in someone else's lie, tell me in the comments. Tell your story, because you're not alone. You're not broken.